Good morning, everyone. So once again, 21st of September down here in Lanzarote, 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in France and 7 o'clock UTC. So not a lot happening during the night, but might be happening in the next couple of days. So for the tail enders of the fleet, Arnaud sitting in virtually no wind. You can see up there he's just doing 2.2 knots, struggling to get to Lanzarote. We're scheduled to leave on Saturday afternoon, so it'll be a bit of a race for him to get in before we leave. Anyway, we'll see what happens. And Mark Sinclair, same thing, just doing 2 knots, drifting along in the breeze, and total frustration for Damien, doing 3.3, so he is moving, but he didn't move a long way last night. And distance from the leader, Simon, down here is now 650 miles. So Simon's the leader has taken out 100 miles on Damien in the last couple of days. So pushing away. And okay, so we'll leave that. We're expecting to see Damien. Well, there's a bit of breeze filling in for the rest of the day, so he's still 150 odd miles from the rounding mark. So we might see him late today, like tonight or something, if it picks up, or maybe very early tomorrow morning. But we'll keep an eye on that and see what happens. For the rest of the fleet now, if I push this up a bit here, you can see we had Ian come through last night, and he's clearing out to the southwest, well clear of everything. You'll probably see him dip down now between the islands. Elliot's finally so Ian's making 5.8 knots, pretty good, well clear during the night, so he can have a bit of a snooze. And Elliot's picked up. He didn't have a fast day yesterday. He left yesterday morning, but it was just doing 3 knots and so on. But now he's doing 6.6, so he's well and truly underway. And then the middle of the fleet, this gets interesting. We sent a message to this group yesterday advising they should consider a southerly route. This group here have no chance of trying to sneak through to the west of this intense low that's coming across in the next few days. So to lessen the impact, we said best to keep coming south for now. Kirsten has done just that. She's coming south. She's screaming along, making 7.3 knots. Goog, for whatever reasons, heading out to the southwest still. And he started to go southerly, but during the night he's headed out there making 7 knots. So I think he's just making the most of the boat speed. He'd probably have everything up, mizzen staysail, mizzen main, genoas, all that sort of stuff. But he's flying, so enjoying the ride regardless. And Jeremy, they're all moving now. Plenty of breeze, 6.7 knots. Ayrton doing 5.3. Guy Waits doing 6.6. So Guy's definitely hanging on to the southerly route. Now this is where it gets a bit tricky, trying to advise on what to do about this low pressure system. Simon is well clear and looks all set to get around on the favourable side, on the northwestern side of this low pressure. So he'll have following breezes all the way down. He's making 6.6 knots at the moment. Tapio's in a bit of a race. He's got to maintain we worked it out, about 5.5 knot average speed. He's currently making 5 knots. So he's on a race to get to the top, and he may interact with that low pressure system and get some solid winds. We had a big chat with him on the phone yesterday, so we've given him a verbal update on where everything's happening. The same with Simon. We had a verbal update with Abelish, told him what's going on. Both Abelish and Pat, even though they don't look very far behind from Tapio, they're in a real race. Personally, I don't think they'll make it. They won't make it around the top. If they keep trying, they're going to go through some big winds. I mean, it's not extreme. It's going to move fast. I'll explain that in a minute, but that's Abelish's choice. We sent a message to Pat to actually call us yesterday so I could update him on the weather. He hasn't done that. He's currently sailing southwest, moving really well, 6.6 knots. So we'd expect hopefully he'll call in today, and we'll explain the weather fully and they can decide what they do. So yeah, these 3 are the ones that are going to be kind of interesting. Kirsten, there's no way she'll get through in front of it. So she's got to make a decision today on how she does it. But for the moment, this course is pretty good. If we look at now the overall weather just in the next 24, 48 hours, just to show you what's going to happen with the fleet, Where are we? Over here. You'll see if I slide this across 24 hours ahead, so basically there, you can see everyone's going to get breeze. Damien's got breeze, Mark, everyone, that'll come through. So they're going to be on the move sometime from this morning. The other guys down here, you can see the pressure gradient and the breeze is tightening up and strengthening ahead of this low pressure. So that's like a good ride. They'll keep up good average speeds. You know, there's 25, 30 knots there, 25 gusting 30 knots in there. So you're going to see high average speeds for sure. And that's over the next 24 hours. Now, I'll just concentrate on the bottom end of the fleet. Now, again, remembering this is windy forecasting. Here's this low pressure system. I don't know whether it's going to develop into a full hurricane because it's more along lines there. It's softening off in the last 24 hours. The predicted wind strengths and so on has decreased. So it's more like an intense low. That's the intense low pressure system. That's what we're calling it at the moment in the weather advice for the entrance. So that's where it is 24 hours from now, the 22nd. So if I slide it along again then for about 24 hours from now on the 23rd, it's just come out to the west. And in fact, I'll put it on 1200 UTC because that's where we're forecasting it all for the entrance and so on. Now this looks pretty benign, you know, there's nothing spectacular here. You've got a good airflow. You can see Simon's going to rush down in this airflow. Tapio's trying to get across as well. This is 2 days ahead. Now 2 days ahead, they're going to be making about, say, 140 miles a day. In fact, this is a bit more than 2 days ahead because it's now the 4 o'clock reporting, so it's 8, so it's probably another 8, another 40, so maybe 200. What have we got? 200. 2 days is 280 plus another. It'd be 300 odd miles, 300 and something miles. So if we peg 300 miles across here with the toggle, why are we not getting another toggle here? I'll turn it off, turn it on. Boom, boom. It's not. I hate this. Sometimes it's inconsistent. Come on. Now it's not toggling at all. Oh, that's because I'm one sync off. Boom, boom. Okay, so now we got it. So I'll put it on Tapio. Let's say he's going to be 300 miles advanced. So 300 miles, and they'll be in about this position here. So you can see, okay, where this homebound route, this is the track for the end of the race coming up, interacts with this latitude line at 20 degrees north. That's about where Tapio might be if he's made about 300 nautical miles, which averages around 6+ knots. Okay, so he's going to be sitting there, and there's not a lot happening. Okay, so he may just get through there. But then if we get rid of the toggle now, remember that position right there. And as we slide this through, we'll go for 6 hours. Boom, you see it's coming up. Now this is a very benign report. This is windy TY, so he would have been there. He could possibly get across. And if we go another few hours, easy, slow this across. You can see this patch of breeze here. This is the big impact zone, and anyone that was there now, like Tapio might have been in this area here. Okay, this area here. Ablish and Pat, if they're coming down here, they'd be in the thick of all of this. Now here's the bottom line. This forecasting from windy on the map here is much more benign than what's going to happen for real. This is the upgraded forecasting. I pay for this thing, and this is on the windy site. You can see there's the Cape Verdes here, and this is for 1200 or 1300 on Friday the 23rd. And if we go forward to midnight, okay, you can see it's got a lot more intense, and this is now midnight. This is about where they would be. So Tapio and Pat and so on are going to be in here. This is forecast wind strength, right? So forecast wind strength, you got 35 knots. If we go to Gus, you'll see what happens here. Boom, you're going 55, 60 knots, going through here, 58, and it's much more dramatic. This is Gus, and that's basically what you get. Most people forget that forecast wind, the actual wind strength, it can be up to 30% higher. and it's become quite intense. And also the position here on this map, the windy map, which is a bit more accurate than the one on the tracker map, shows the pressure systems in a completely different position. So if we go back to, well, anyway, it's moving further north and faster than what it's showing on the tracker map. So it's absolutely blocking their way, and there's going to be some interaction with the fleet if Aberlich and Pat go through it. They're going to hook up with this for sure. Then the good news is, well, if we go through to midday on the Saturday, you can see it's still there. You've still got the strong winds. If I pull this across, this is Gus. Okay, still 50, 60 knots in there. Sea state's going to be up around 6 meters. Or 5.5, you know, so this is forecast again. It's probably making 6 meter seas, and it's literally blocking the way. Certainly the ones behind, Kirsten, Goog, all that sort of stuff, they got no hope. If they want to go through here, they're going to have to go with that. But we've now adopted a process where what I'm doing is just giving them the course and speed of the centre of the centre of the systems, and giving them approximate wind gust and wind strength in the various sectors. This is in the north sector. Prior to that, I'm giving them the wind strengths in the northwesterly sector, and I'm letting them make the decision on where they want to go. So whilst I said, if I go back to the tracker, this group here, Michael Goog and Guy and Kirsten, best to head a southerly route for now, because we didn't know where it was going to go and what it's going to do. It's very clear it's coming across very quickly, and then as it goes north, it's going to slowly break up. And as I say, not a vicious hurricane, but still something to watch. So they'll be getting that forecast as we speak on their YB3. It's quite a detailed one for the plots every 12 hours of the centres, and they can decide. So it'll be a case of watch this space, you know, let's just see what happens. It's up to them, and it'll be interesting to see how each make their own decisions on whether they can get across the top or just go through it and put up the big winds to maintain this favourable wind direction, or take the safer route and come down the back. But it's interesting, once again, you know, to see the difference in the windy forecast here on the tracker map, because if I pull that through, just to give you one more example, hang on, I'm going to go for 12, too far, there we go. Okay, so that's 12 o'clock on the 24th, and you can see if you draw a line between Nuhububu, or whatever it is there, and Mindelo, you'll see it's centred on this forecast, basically halfway along that line. And that's 24th at 1200. If I go across here and I go 24th at 1200, if I draw that same line from here across to there, you see it's on the tracker map, it's showing it's centered about here, but in reality it's going to be, you know, 120 miles or so further north. The other one to look at is the difference in the modelling. Once again, they're starting to, hang on, I'll come to an average one here. Okay, we'll leave the time and the date the same. If I go to the GFS model, it's a lot less, it's a lot more benign. If I go to the Icon model, it's showing a bit more intense. So, and this one is actually showing, you know, straight through the middle and about where it is. So I'm starting to think, in fact, I'll have to talk to Windy and talk to YB3 and ask them which model under Windy they're actually using. They may be using the Icon model, because this is actually more in line. Anyway, a bit too much information, so it's going to be an interesting time the next few days, and we look forward to seeing Damien soon, and following on with the tweets and see what's going on.